States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pat, have you ever roll taken?
Trustee Clayton?
Present. Via
Clayton? Kimsey?
Yes.
Fountain?
Here.
Lindhorst? Mel?
Yes.
Settlement? Present. And Mayor Gray.
Here. The first item on the agenda is public comments.
First, we have to approve Trustee Clayton participating remotely.
Oh,
I make that motion.
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, first item on the agenda is public comments. Would anyone?
They took my seat, but please let me go first.
Okay, Bonnie.
You want to tell Chad the last name, or you got it? All right, first thing I'd like to do is, I'm not going to talk about the water tonight, because I only have 5 minutes. I want you guys to all revisit the ordinance 50.10 in regards to the landlords being responsible and liens put on their property for unpaid utility bills by their tenants. Big thing, by their tenants, okay? Oops, that was mine, sorry. There. All right, these are some forms in case you all don't know what your forms look like, that I've gone above and beyond. I FOIA'd the information.
Thank you.
What I think you need to do is, number one, you need to look at a couple of these pages. I tried to highlight, but I was a real big hurry. Hi, Matt, to get this done. Attorney Jeff, really, you need to seriously look at this, okay, before it gets out of hand. Chad, you need a copy? Okay, with that being said, I've been confronted by a couple of different property owners. I'm not going to mention by names, but I can tell you right now, one of them owns 240 rental properties. I'd like to avoid saying this, but I'm not going to do it because you all know who I am. My son owns several properties. My ex-husband owns several properties. My other son owns several properties. People have come to this meeting tonight in regards to this. What you are doing is crazy. You don't send. Everybody look at page, let me pull this out, I'm so ticked off. Look at page 2 that I've stapled. Clearly, you send a notice out to the tenants that you have the legal right to put a lien on a property owner's property if they don't pay their utility bill. Well, I'm a dirtbag and I'm not going to pay my utility bill because guess what? The landlord's going to pay for it. That is wrong. You should not do that. If you want to send out 2 different notices, you send one to the tenant that they are delinquent and you send one to the property owner. But what I want you to do is I want you to look real close here on where it has ever been signed by a property owner that they are going to be having liens on their properties for a tenant not paying. I want you guys to do the research because I'm tired of FOIAing, but if you don't want to do it, I'll do it. Look at how many rentals are in this village. People come to this village to rent because they want a place to send their kids to school that's good. You know, if everybody could buy into Springfield City Water, Light and Power, but Chatham Schools, it's going to be done, you guys. I don't care if you agree with me or not. I can come up with the facts. Every excuse that you guys give us, you can't come up with the facts. You tell me that this is okay, that you tell a tenant you're going to put a lease or a lien on somebody's property? How dare you guys? This is a lawsuit waiting to happen against this village. Get smart about this. Then, your first page here. This is what is faxed to the property owner when a tenant signs for utilities. Y'all are a little vague on that bottom line that I got highlighted. I further understand that both the owner and tenant are liable for the cost of utility services provided by the village to these premises. My son pays his utility bills when he's got a vacant property. When he's got a vacant apartment, he pays that utility bill. The only time that any property owner should be charged for a utility is when they agree that the tenant tells you guys they've moved out of that property and the landlord is taking responsibility for that utility for cleanup or whatever else until he gets it rented. But who do you guys think you are to put liens on these properties? If that's the case, then every property owner here in the village of Chatham should bulldoze their apartments and pay taxes on only a lot and not that apartment complex that is costing them an arm and a leg. My son and other property owners here have chosen to purchase property here way back when for one purpose. They believed in this village. Are you timing me, Jeff?
Yes.
Okay. To believe in this village, to give people the opportunity to live in this village, not to live in the city of Springfield, but to live in this village and giving them every opportunity that this village used to give them. So you guys need to look long and hard at what your statements are. I've also, and I'm sorry I ran out of ink, I'll give this to your attorney. Here's the Illinois statutes on when you can cut and when you can't cut. If you don't know when to cut and when not to cut, get yourself educated. Water at any time can be cut, at any time. Your electric and your gas cannot be cut unless the temperatures are at a certain degree. From a certain month to a certain month, 32 degrees. I also have the information attached on your last page from City Water, Light and Power. You want to play with the big boys, you want to be a City Water, Light and Power, or you want to be a city of Chatham instead of a village of Chatham, read what City Water, Light and Power does. They don't go after that property owner. They don't put a lien on their property ever. What you do is you hire enough people to get the power cut when necessary. You don't go after the property owners. Otherwise, by golly, I'm going to suggest everybody rip them down, and you all can pay for that with a lawsuit coming up, because you cannot tell a tenant the privileged information of putting a lien on a property. Jeff, look it up, and please, you've got my email address, you tell me if you think this is wrong. That they tell a tenant, hey, don't pay your electric or water bill, it's fine, we'll go after the property owner. Do I got any more time?
No, sorry.
Well, so am I.
Thank you for your comments.
Pat, do we notify the landlord when this occurs too? I mean, I know.
Yes, you do.
Fine, okay, so we do notify the landlord that this, okay.
At the same time that you notify the tenant, you notify the landlord, but that little piece of information about putting liens on properties, you better get rid of it.
Well, that part is, that has to be part of public record.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Legally, can you put a lien on somebody's property when a tenant has signed for that, paid $300 security deposit, and put a lien on the property owner's property?
The
Look up there.
utility bills are in joint. If the person
They're
signed
not
up,
joint. There's a
legal
problem.
counsel says that it is.
Who does?
Legal.
Okay, there you go.
Okay. Phil, would you like, oh, I'm sorry, sir. Yes, sir.
John Mohan, I've lived here since 1937. I took an ordinance very similar to this thing to court. Mark Rabin was my attorney, and Dick Durbin was the village attorney. It's been back before Dick got deep in politics.
Yeah.
That's a long time ago. We went before Simon Friedman was a judge. He read the ordinance. He said you cannot force a person to co-sign under duress. And he dismissed it, and Durbin got mad at heck and threatened me and Larry Reynolds, and he said, yeah, you got departments, you'll charge you $1,000, I'll get to make $1,000 deposit before they can get any due. I waited for the second shoe to fall, but he went on in politics, and I never heard anything else about it. But Simon Friedman said it was against the law to put a person, to make them co-sign under duress. And so I asked Rabin, I said, what exactly is duress? As we're walking out, and he said, well, Jack, he said that if you put a gun to somebody's head, that's extreme duress. If you only threaten them otherwise, it's not that extreme. But if you feel like you're under duress, you do not have to sign. That's in the courts, and I have never heard that it's been appealed. So the Court of Appeals never said anything about it. So I just feel that this ordinance is not even legal.
Okay. Well, thank you for your input. Yes, ma'am.
I'm agree with every word he says, but the water. You guys chose not to go with city water like power anymore, and you brought a line for God, I don't know how much money over here through Rochester and God knows where. My toilets have lines on them that I cannot scrub off. There's dirt in the water that I'm drinking. It's just ridiculous. I don't know if you guys are trying to do what's good for Chatham, but it doesn't look like it to me. I mean, our water isn't even any good anymore. I mean, we had good water. We didn't have all this junk. I mean, I really don't know what you're doing to don't make any sense to me.
I spent $720 to get Rick Ray Plumbing to take out when I used to have a well before I got into the city. And he put a complete water system, filter system in there, and I still have problems.
Okay.
And I'd be happy to take you out to my house and show you because
Well-
it don't go away. It don't matter. There's any flushing toilet, there's dirt in the bottom, and there's this line I cannot get
Ma'am, what
off.
was your first name, please?
Connie.
Connie.
They've got a filter system. We can't test their water.
Now, I've got two filters. I've got one main filter on the line where the things used to come in, and I've got another filter on the refrigerator where you get water out of the thing.
He has a filter system, he's running his own water department.
Well, thank you for your
How is that
comment.
possible? We're running your water.
It goes through your filter system, we have no control over it.
Yeah.
Well, if we didn't have a filter system, it'd be just black water.
It's speculation.
Okay, well, thank
That's
you.
not true. I'll be happy to take you out to my house and show you. I'll do it as soon as this is
Okay.
over.
Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Can anybody tell me how many days I'm gonna pay on my water bill this month?
How many did you pay last month?
21.
It'd probably be around 41.
It'll be 41. Okay, because of that, for the people who have only paid for 21 days, are we going to get an extra 10 days to pay that bill?
You got your 5 days grace period like before.
But that bill's gonna be outrageous, because it's gonna be for 41 days. We've had 90-degree weather, we've been watering and everything like that.
This isn't for the last 2 weeks, it'll be the bill for the last part of May, early part of June. So it's not this part that's going to be this last heat. And it's only water, it's not the electric. Your electric has still been based off the 31. Those readings were read on a regular basis. It was only some of the water readings that, because of us putting in the new equipment, caused the readings to be 21 days for the past month, and this next one that's due July 15th will catch that up, those 10 days that we're missing, and put it back to put it at 41.
Okay. I mean, I think that's gonna cause some hardship for people.
I'm hoping that people save some money from last month and use that for this month. because
Well, a lot of people budget.
If you use the
I
same,
budget.
you're on budget billing, so.
No, I'm not on budget.
I thought you were.
No. I'm not on budget billing. No. I ran some numbers, and from April 2015 to April 2016, we paid $2,725,952 to South Sangamon County Water. If you take 1/12, which is what Terry has told us numerous times up here, that comes to $227,162. Really short of 800 some odd dollars that is supposed to be paid in January and July. Now Darlene got some information, and they say they put $143,000 minus $5,000 towards the interest and the bonds. So I took the amounts that we paid and minus the $143,000 from April of 2015 to April of 2016, and that adds up to $871,952. So they're about $800,000 short of interest and principal to be paid in January and July 1. Now, the last meeting we were at, they're gonna go out and borrow money. They're gonna do bonds. They're gonna go to a bank. They're gonna try to do investors that'll come in and throw some money in the pot, anywhere from 500,000 to 700,000, I believe. And you all don't know anything about this, do you? Is Ruth here to tell us what's going on? No, she's not. There's going to use the same guy who did the bonds for the village. Have you heard from him, Joe?
I have not.
You haven't gotten it?
I haven't got on to that. I'm gonna work with Jeff to get that going.
Well, that was 2 weeks ago that I gave you that,
Yeah.
and it had been 18 months since I first talked to you about it.
Yeah.
You know, Moody's downgraded them. They're gonna have a hard time getting any bond money, I can guarantee you that. They've only got $50,000 in some kind of a reserve fund, which they need to have $500,000. And they're not doing anything about the water. Their biggest concern is getting some filter in there to get them off the EPA restricted list. That's all they're concerned about.
Whether it's good water that results or bad water, it doesn't matter, as long as they get off the list.
That's what they want to do.
Who's paying for the filter? We are. Well, and our
paying for
costs.
it.
I guarantee you, within the next 6 months, we'll have water rates. We'll be paying a minimum of $2 more. That's what's coming down the road. $2 more for 1,000 gallons. And that's ridiculous for the crap that we have. You gotta do something. Get your big girl pants on, get your big boy pants on, make a move.
Stop kicking the can down the road.
Okay, thank you for your comment. Anybody else? Yes.
It's been 30-plus years since I rented in Chatham. If I was a person coming into Chatham to rent an apartment, I come to the utility office to sign up for my utilities, correct? Do I have to bring my landlord with me to also sign up for the utilities?
He has
We
to
both
sign
have
the
to
papers
come at
also.
the same time?
Well, I don't know if you have to be there at the same time.
Oh,
They
so-
both have to sign the papers.
Okay.
How can you legally make me sign something I don't want to sign?
Probably can't.
I think it comes down to, do you want water at the property or not?
And we don't have to serve
You
utilities to
can
that person.
refuse
if
me
you
water
refuse.
if I don't sign that I'll pay the bill if they don't pay theirs.
I don't think you can refuse water to people.
Well,
If it's too hot or too cold, you certainly can't.
If they pay their- I mean, it is hard to believe that you are working for us with all this stuff you're throwing at us.
It just,
I mean, my husband's lived here his entire life, and I've lived here for like 50 years now. It's just ridiculous that you're not looking out for the residents of Chatham. I'm sorry.
That's, I just have one other question. On the warrants, it has a CL17 chlorine analyzer for the pump house, because EPA mandated it.
They wanted
Where
two
is
chlorine.
the pump house?
You know where the ground storage tank is?
Okay.
Way out there off of 55.
Okay,
There's a little pump house across the street to the north, and it'll go in there. And what it does is, we check our chlorine now down at our shop building south of.
oh, so it's
Community
not
Park.
across the street?
No, and then we'll also check it out there. The EPA wanted us to check it when South Sangamon sent water to us, and then they also wanted to check it in the center of town. So
Okay.
that's why we had to purchase a second one.
And
And
how
why
much was
would
it?
we be going with South Sangamon?
I don't know, it's like 13,000, I don't know, that's a figure that I won't stand on. I mean, it's something such as that.
It's in the teens.
Now, what I understand that when South Sangamon gets this hydro whatever thing, that in order to install that, they have to have Chatham's permission to install an automatic valve at the place where it comes to Chatham?
Yes.
Now, is South Sangamon going to pay for that, or is Chatham going to pay for that?
South Sangamon.
Okay, so Ruth didn't talk you into paying for that.
That's not the impression they gave us.
I haven't been approached about it.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good to know. I mean, it just means their expense is going to be more.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Jeff here. We were, 5 of us went out to the South Sangamon meeting last week. One of the things I was concerned was, in the Curry report, it says that they're required, as we talked about, to do the testing for under the influence of surface water. That, was it Mark from Curry Garden, or wherever he's from?
Yes, they do.
Said he considers it optional and they're not going to do the testing. They have no desire to do it, they have no plans to do it. They said they're going to wait to see if Riverton, who's on the same aquifer, maybe they're going to do some testing down the road and they'll see what the results are of that. I think that's a very shady thing for us to be doing as a village, relying on South Sangamon to say this is optional, and the Curry report says the EPA document from 2014 says it's required. It says in the Curry report, we can get, I think we requested that FOIA document from EPA in 2014 that says it is required, and I think that if it is, we need to get that testing done ASAP. They had testing on the wells in 2003, 2007 studies that says it is fed by water that is into that aquifer. Surface water does affect that. They did a test in 2003. They also did a drawdown study. Both of them said, and previous engineers said that that water, surface water, does affect that aquifer. So why they're not required to do that testing and find that out when we have all these problems? It should. I mean, that should be one of the first things we do. We should shut that water down from them until they figure that out and get their water straightened out. They need to be doing that testing, because if they can't assure us that that water is safe, and all these engineers for years and years, from the last 13 years, have all said that water is contaminated by surface water, we need to know the answers to that. There should be no water coming from them until they do that testing. I don't know why. As a
Why do they
community, we're
not
still
have to
putting
do that?
I asked the same question when that report came out, and I was told that they have now received a letter from the EPA said that they're not under the influence of surface water, so they are not required.
Where's that letter? What's the date on that?
I don't know. They said they had it.
Then you need to produce that statement.
So that,
Because it's
that's
not
the
mentioned-
reason that they're
it's
not
not mentioned in
doing
the Curry
the
report, so.
integrity test on the microfiltration. I asked them, did they give you any guidance? They said it would be nice if you took that test once a week.
So why, I mean,
So
Yeah.
I assume they're taking it.
No,
Where's
they're
the
not.
document? I don't want you to mention that here unless you have the document, because December 2014, it says in the Curry report, they're required. So if you have something specific, you can say that's newer than that, that's fine. If not, I don't want you commenting saying that it's not allowed, or they're not permitted, or whatever else, because if you don't have a time and date, the Curry report's only a few months old. I don't think the EPA's sent them something since then, because that's just a few months old.
Do you have an email?
Okay.
The EPA document says it supports what the findings in the Curry report, which says it's required. So why would the EPA say they support that? So if you're receiving some special documents, let us know, because
I have not received
the
the
EPA
document, but
document is only
I
a
was
few months
told
old.
by the plant that
Who told you?
Dan Helen.
So then we need to produce that document, like, by the next meeting, it needs to be here.
I'll get it.
Because we need to know the time and date and what testing they did that says that. Because the Curry report, EPA says that it's not been done.
So.
The Curry report did say that they needed to do those tests. But if the EPA sent them a letter telling them that they didn't
Did you
have
see CNN today where it talks about EPA violations and everything else that says across the United States, the EPA crap, that it's basically they're not doing anything about their job, thousands of communities across the United States. So the EPA just sent in documents about, like the Department of Public Health sent in that one-page document saying nobody in this town's having any medical problems related to this water. You know, it's a bunch of BS, and everybody here knows that. There's people that are having issues, there are people that have stains, there are people that are having corroded fixtures, everything else. You can't sit there and tell me you don't know of anything in this town that's happened because of the water. So, for you to say that,
I haven't said that.
so,
All I said was that they said that it's not under the
Yeah.
Who's they? I don't want to.
Dan Hill.
He said Dan Hill. But, you know, last week,
Producing.
this question was asked. This question was asked specifically.
Out there.
Out there, have they ran the test?
Yep.
And their answer, they said they wouldn't because it wasn't required, it was optional. There was no mention that they got a letter from the EPA saying that they didn't have to do it.
Dan Hill was in that meeting,
And
and
he-
he
yes,
answered
he
as soon as
was.
we asked him questions, he was out of there. They were all very short with us, left that meeting, didn't want to answer. Actually, they answered some things, but they didn't answer them nicely.
It might be time to get that meeting here. I mean, we really need to push that.
They said they're supposed to be July 29th, there's a special EPA meeting with one of them.
No, their monthly meeting here. In
Well,
Chatham.
no, they said they're meeting with EPA July 29th.
June
And-
29th, tomorrow.
Well, they told us July 29th.
I think it's tomorrow.
It's tomorrow.
And they said that nobody from the community could be involved in that because only one of them is meeting, so it doesn't have to be public. So they can just meet on their own, discuss whatever happens in the background, and then we don't get any information officially from the EPA. So I think that these meetings need to be public, we need to be finding out from the EPA what's really happening here.
Well, thank you for your comment. Phil, are you ready?
Can you check on that document?
I will.
Thank you, and then we'll see if we can post that.
Why can't Chatham have someone at the, or are you going to be there, Chatham?
I'm not going to be there.
I don't understand why we are footing the bill to the tune of millions and millions and millions, and we have no say in the quality, we have no say in what they spend the money on, and on top of that, they promised 3.5 million gallons, and they're only supplying 2.2. Now, that isn't a breach of contract, I don't know what is.
And they can't supply, with the current system that they have, $3.3 million. Or 3.3 million gallons.
Confirmed by Dan Hill, and that is what the bond document requires, where it actually states a 3.3 million gallon treatment facility. Dan Hill stated at the last meeting, that facility was only built 2.2. So right there, it's not what the bondholders were told they were gonna get.
Do we have a representative going tomorrow? Sorry, Jeff.
No, it's just between the commission and the IEPA.
So, well, we
What's
own
the commissioner
90%. We ask them if we can have someone there, and if they say no, please let me know and let us know.
I don't know who's going from the commission, do you?
I do not.
We can check it into
So
it.
Pat, can you get
Imagine
there?
it'd be-
If you can be there, we need to ask, and if not,
It's not our meeting though, but we can certainly try.
well, I
to-
know, but I would like to see if we can get somebody there.
Yeah, we can-
I mean, if
we
they
can
turn us
try.
down, that would be interesting.
I'll check.
You know, anytime the other people's money is involved, you should be, someone, their representative should be at the meeting.
Mayor Ruth is not the choice.
Yes.
Okay, Phil, you had something for the village board tonight.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor, trustees. I'm here representing the Chatham Fire Department. My name is Phil Schumer, I'm the fire chief. What my concerns are is in regards to Cardinal Hill and the development of it. Excuse me? Cardinal Ridge, I apologize, misspoke there. What we're concerned about is the entrances to that subdivision. Right now, the proposal is to negate one of the entrances out of Fox Creek, make it a cul-de-sac, and make one entrance in the subdivision off of Mansion Road. The other part of the planned development is to run utilities through that main entrance. So if you can rationalize the concerns we have, if we have inclement weather on Mansion Road and that entrance is blocked, all the residents behind that line will then be trapped in that area, not be able to come out. We will not be able to access that with our ambulances, our fire apparatus at all during that time period until your utility crews are able to build this path. So I believe that there's, the main concern is the water line that's going to be going out of that main entrance. So what I'm proposing is that the board relook at those plans and open up that Fox Creek entrance, okay? Because it's vital for it to be there. I'd hate to be in that subdivision. Maybe Mrs. Lindquist, who's shaking her head, would love to be in that subdivision.
No, I wasn't saying-
Experiencing a
saying
heart
we
attack.
could
I'm
find
talking
another
about 5
option.
minutes. I'm just asking for the 5 minutes.
Well, you commented to me.
So, you know, she's shaking her head here, making comments that, you know, making it look like if you're behind that line, it's not a detriment. But it is. If there's a structure fire in one of those buildings, we can't access it. If your family member's having a heart attack, your child is having an anaphylactic shock and dying there in front of you, how are we supposed to get to it with one entrance that could be potentially blocked? A subdivision of that size should be accessed from 2 different ways. I don't know what the reasoning is to block that off and make that a cul-de-sac, because it would make sense that you want the traffic flow, in my opinion, not to go to Mansion Road, then to go to Springfield for the businesses there, but to have them have access to Chatham businesses and go to the county market, go to the Ace Hardware, the Walgreens, the stuff that are in their community, and make it convenient for all homeowners to reside in those apartments and in those houses. It just baffles me to no end that why you would block in a subdivision of that size and the projected magnitude of it. Additionally, I think I've asked Pat to look at the engineering specifications on that, where the apartment buildings are. We're concerned about the fire apparatus being able to get in there. The equipment that we use is quite lengthy and bulky, as you know. So trying to make those turns around the proposed curbing, parking spaces, as well as the parking garages is going to be difficult at best. Under the current projections, we're not going to be able to make the turns with our equipment. We're not going to be able to access and get in there. And then that could be a detriment to the homeowners, well, the property owners who owns those apartment buildings. Do you have any question, Mayor?
Actually, Pat, I'm sorry, you've spoken with CMT.
Well, Phil gave me his concerns. He gave me the dimensions and what turning requirements were for all of his fire vehicles. And then I sent that to CMT, they looked at it, and then we passed that on to Martin Engineering, who's doing the work for Cardinal Ridge. And they're taking that into account, and they're redesigning that whole area there to be able to allow access for those trucks. Now, I knew Phil was going to come tonight and talk about this access point, and I wanted to have our engineer Jim here to give you his thoughts on it too. I know it was tough when we turned around and brought this up the first time.
Well, and just so you know what my frustration was before you came, it is the fact that prior to us hiring them, we had our engineers, okay, yes, CMT.
Yeah, okay.
We had our engineers look at this to make sure, the concern was Fox Creek and their kids and the safety and people driving in and out. So we were trying to appease that neighborhood to bring that in. So my frustration of this was, our engineers should have caught this prior to, before we agreed to this. Does that make sense? That was not meant, so that we meet the needs of everybody.
Makes perfect
So
sense.
before, my frustration is for the community, not for.
Yeah,
And I understand your safety, but they should have caught that. They should have worked with you guys.
Well,
And it's on many of the roads we have.
It's a yes and a no. Because there are other subdivisions in Chatham that have been built that have similar problems and difficulties to it. Pat and I have worked on them. It's nothing that's, catastrophic. What we're trying to do is Pat and I are trying to do it to make it better.
Right.
Moving forward, getting us involved in plans reviews in a more timely fashion. And it's fantastic. He's reached out to me and asked this to happen. And it's fantastic. It's access we haven't been granted for in the past. And hopefully it alleviates it, because we don't want the village board to have extra expense by having it reviewed a second time by an engineer or going back to the drawing board in order to reopen a cul-de-sac and develop the plans. That's not our wishes at all.
That's my frustration, is this neighborhood came to us and begged for this, for the safety of their kids. So I understand yours, but I am hoping, because we have a new engineer, we can find a happy medium for both groups. I don't know what that answer is, but since they're so creative, I'm sure they can find it.
Fox Creek has multiple entrances and exits as it is anyway, so to say that this one particular entrance is going to cause a detriment to Fox Creek, that's a little exaggeration.
I mean.
Yeah, well, and I understand that, and that's a viewpoint of mine, is that it's, if you think about Fox Creek and the way it's laid out, there's several access points. And so there's traffic galore in that subdivision. I live in Oak Brook, I have experienced the same thing. I have several access points to Oak Brook, there's traffic, it's a fact of life.
And and this was it was a deciding factor of me voting for it. That's how big of a deal it was.
Okay,
it was huge.
Phil's time is up. Murphy and Tilly, would you like to weigh in on this, please?
Mayor, actually, could I weigh in real quick? I know I was sitting on the planning commission at the time this came through. I forget exactly how many lots there were, along with the number of residents as far as the individual apartments and the quadplexes. And I know that was one of the things we discussed as a planning commission, was being able to provide that secondary access point, so that if something did come about where all of a sudden access from the Mansion Road was blocked somehow, there was another way to get in there. And if I also recall that the plat for that part of Fox Creek, that was determined to be a through street at some point in the future. And from what I recall, and Pat, definitely correct me if I'm wrong, I believe the recommendation from the planning commission was to have the two access points as they were submitted. And, you know, it wasn't until recently that I heard that, you know, when it did come to the board, things actually got turned around, putting it back down to one access point. So I just know where we were at as far as with the planning commission at the time.
It did pass through the planning commission, the preliminary plan and the location sketch both, with both accesses there. Then it went to the village board and that's where it changed.
Okay.
Okay,
You know, Pat did provide us with turning movements and everything internal to the subdivision for apartments, and, you know, looking at addressing, you know, access to those buildings, and our engineering has provided those turning movements to us. We're currently reviewing those and want to work with you to make sure that, you know, safe fire protection internal to the system is being taken care of. Now, as far as you're concerned, you know, like you said, we weren't here when that decision was made. I'm not aware of what all of the ins and outs with the specific concerns, if it was, you know, children's safety, high traffic volumes, you know, what actually was the concern or the deciding factor on that. As Terry said, you know, from an engineering perspective and from a safety perspective, we would support at least two entrances into a subdivision. It's common sense, it's common practice in terms of being able to provide, you know, both circulation for the roadway networks and also emergency access. You know, we know what the condition of Mansion Road is, old oil and chip roadway, you know, roadside ditches. You know, if you get a situation where you have an icy road, someone goes off the road, you could very easily block that roadway from access. Whereas your subdivision roads are engineered roads with, you know, design profiles and design widths are more accommodating in inclement weather and so forth. But you know, if there is a condition, a specific condition, you know, that has been brought to the board that influenced your decision on, or the board's decision ultimately on approving a subdivision, we would like to look into that further and see if there is an engineering solution to look at that and, you know, maybe resolve the comments or concerns that were originally presented that, you know, swayed the decision from the planning commission to the board in terms of cul-de-sacing off that roadway. But
Maybe that's something we could get with those families that,
okay.
I mean, they're all on that street, so.
Do you recall what it is, what it was specifically? Is it just traffic volume?
Traffic volume.
Okay.
So, I mean, and that's something, you know, maybe it's, I don't know what we can do, you know what I mean, if it's road bumps, I would think you need to at least talk to those neighborhoods before we.
Pat, what are you proposing for a solution to this safety issue?
Well, I approached the developer's engineer and asked him, I said, you know, the fire department has concerns over us closing Garvey. I said, can you find out from the developer whether you guys have a problem with going back to that being a through street there, or if we look at another solution? He said that he would get back to me. He told me, he got back to me later and told me that the developer would agree to whatever the board decides. So he can either stay closed or it can be open. The one thing that he did ask was that they're in the process of putting utilities in out there now. We need to know within a relatively quick time frame on which option we're going to go with, so they can set up their stuff for where they're going to put the road in, or whether the road's going to be the cul-de-sac or whether the road's going to be a through street.
So there's no other option for entrances, is what you're thinking?
There are other entrances, but there's actually other entrances to the subdivision. The problem is they're south of there, and they would be fed from the Dowson farmland, and who knows when that would ever get developed. So Like Carroll's Point was one that would come
Well, how
across.
much we cushion that for extra money from apartment mark, or what are they? We cushion that extra money, remember? Where we increased it up so that if something else came up, so is there, they can pay for another entrance on that part? So it doesn't affect that, does that make sense where we can still meet the safety of what the fire department
Well,
needs and
because,
then extend
because
that
that piece of
through?
property would
I
be
can't
the
think of what it
farthest west, okay? So there is no neighbor to the west right now, and there is no neighbor to the south. So the only way to access is the north or from North Point, which is what would be up adjacent to it. Fox Creek is not adjacent to this property. The subdivision North Point that Dave lives in is adjacent to it. Now Garvey, when it was set up originally in Fox Creek, it was a through street to go from Fox Creek into North Point, from North Point into whatever was gonna be next. We didn't know what it was gonna be, we didn't know when it was gonna be, but it was set up to be a through street all the way through. Kind of like Plummer is, going off to the west, Carroll's Point, going off to the
That
west.
street
Those are
still
streets,
stub is open.
right.
Savannah's the same way.
Just like in Fox Creek now, Newcomb is stubbed to go continuing off to the east. It should go all the way to Route 4 at some time. That'll be another entrance into Fox Creek. So
I don't
that's
know,
just
there's-
part of our original planning. When we do our long-range planning, we turn around and show on drawings where subdivision streets.
Can CMT work with Pat and the developer and the residents that would be affected? Can you report back to us at the next committee meeting?
Yeah, because something that just comes
Yeah.
to mind is even making it a one-way street to limit the amount of traffic on a temporary basis, but would still provide emergency access, should those vehicles need to be, going through that route. So, there may be some options there. in
And I'll
terms
give
of
you
deciding.
some of those people that contacted me
Right.
that are primary info that
Okay, moving along.
One quick question.
What?
Chief, if we were to open up Garvey,
Yes.
would the access to Cardinal Ridge, would you still continue to go down Mansion Road to access it? Or would you go through Fox Creek to Garvey to access Cardinal Ridge?
We utilize both entrances, and the reason for that answer is because everything that we respond to is based on a CAD system, and it's based on the fastest and most direct route. So if the building or the individual single-family home is closer to the Mansion Road entrance, we'd access there. If it's closer to the Garvey entrance, we would access that point. It's all based upon timing, so that we get the quickest and most efficient way possible. So to say that we could always go to Mansion, always go to Garvey, that would be incorrect.
So we've got because the question here is they're trying to lay out their utilities now. So are we off on a timeline so that there'd be something to consider in 2 weeks?
That's what I was wondering. Could the board be ready to make a decision in 2 weeks? If I get information to you, email it to you and stuff like that, that you guys could vote in 2 weeks, we'll have a special board meeting to pay the warrants and handle this. And
Yeah,
maybe a
because you're
couple other
basically
items.
gonna make a change to, well, then we're gonna make a change to if we need to. We'll see what we need to do. If we need to make a change to what they promised originally in their ordinance, you know what I mean, when we passed it. You know what I'm saying? We agreed to all that stuff. So then we're gonna change that. I mean, everything's,
They are willing to change whatever needs to
They
be
are,
changed
okay.
or leave everything the way that we.
good. And that's what we need to make sure is
So they're good with it.
working
but-
with what that property.
But we need to get a decision made.
Okay.
And so I'll try to get all the information to you. These guys can look at it.
I'll get those names.
And then at the next committee meeting of the whole, we'll have it. I think we have to do that anyway with the warrants. I think we should call that a special board meeting. So if there's any other items that we need to take care of, we'll just add that on to the special board meeting.
That works, Jeff.
Yeah, that's.
And we'll post it out ahead of time, and it'll be on board docs and on the door.
Okay, thank you. Can I have a motion to put the consent agenda on the table for consideration? Do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion.
Is that Jim and Terry?
Yes, sir.
Any questions, changes? Hearing none, Pat, would you take the vote, please?
Trustee Clayton?
Yes.
Kimsey?
Yes.
Felton?
Yes.
Linhorst?
Yes.
Trustee Mao had to leave, and Trustee Scotland.
Yes.
Okay, moving along to new business. The transfer agreement between Chatham and the state of Illinois.
Pat, ordinance number 16.
Is that the same right
It
here?
is.
Am I supposed to have an ordinance?
They consider that an ordinance.
Okay. 28, 1628.
If you look at this piece of paper I gave you, the little orange triangle,
We need a second first, right?
Yeah.
Jurisdictional
Okay.
transfer of a small piece of property along the Walnut railroad crossing.
Second.
Dave's made the motion, do we have a
Second.
second? Okay, Nina's
Is that
seconded.
50 you said? 16 what?
1628.
28.
Okay, Pat,
And where am I looking at? I see the orange, but what's walnut and,
It's the orange section.
it's this small little orange piece of property
Yeah.
that you see right here, it's
Yeah.
next to the railroad tracks.
The shaded property next to the dog car wash.
They state bought it when they
Got
were
it.
doing the, improving the rail crossing. And they needed to do it, use it for construction. And now that construction's over with, they want to give it to the village.
and we had it, did we have it before, or was it owned by the Dougie Car Wash?
I think it was owned by the Greco
Greco Graphics.
Graphics building.
So currently it's just a,
It's a triangle that the state owns that they don't want to maintain, and they want to give it to us, and it's going to be either concrete or gravel.
okay.
And Pat, I guess one question I would ask, and I'm sure that they did, I assume the property is clean.
Yes.
Okay, so they did go through and verify that it was clean. Okay.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, Pat, would you take the vote, please?
Trustee Clayton?
Yes.
Kimsey?
Yes.
Felton?
Yes.
Linhorst?
Yes.
Scotland?
yes.
Okay, Dave, the annexation agreement with the Mr. Jones.
29.
Yeah.
16-29. Authorizing the execution of annexation agreement on a 1-acre tract, Mr. Jones on Old Indian Trail Road.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion.
This piece of property is a 1-acre parcel that's located about right here. Okay. It was cut off of the larger piece that were owned by the Joneses. The uncle gave his nephew a 1-acre parcel. He wanted to annex to the village. He's contiguous to other areas that we have pre-annexation agreements with. He's getting water, he gives us road right away. It's a simple pre-annexation. He's in the process of building a house now.
Now, did we have a hearing on this one?
We did.
Oh, we did.
Yep.
And
This was a few months ago. This
Oh,
was-
yeah.
and there was no.
We were waiting for a lot of legal descriptions and everything else, but
And there was no discussion, is that correct?
no, everybody was fine with it. Nobody came in and spoke against it.
Okay, any further questions? Hearing none, Pat, would you take the vote, please?
Trustee Clayton?
Yes.
Kimsey?
Yes.
Felton?
Yes.
Linhorst?
Yes.
And Scotland?
Yes.
Okay, the ordinance establishing salaries for the village manager and the chief of police. Dave, will you take care of that?
The ordinance
30.
1630. Establishing salary for the village manager and chief of police.
Can there be discussion from the public?
Okay, do we have a second?
Wait, can there be discussion from the public?
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, discussion.
From the
I'd just like to make a few points if I could. I understand this has been budgeted, and I understand this is more of a administration decision, but, you asked me for my vote, so I'll give forth my input here, but I'm all in favor of incentivizing employees to, perform at a greater capacity. I'm in favor of retention, but I'm not in favor of participation awards. And I think if you guys want to do this right, you go through the employee appraisal process, and I don't think they simultaneously come out to being 3%. I know we've had some discussion about personnel previously, but like I said, I feel that this is a participation award and almost quasi collective bargaining for a non-collective bargaining unit. But needless to say, if you ask for my input, my vote, I'm not going to support this.
Okay, it recommends a 3% increase for Pat and for Vern. I evaluated Pat. He did a lot of positive things this year, especially with regard to our budget work. Did some excellent stuff with personnel. He had a lot of positive things that he did in very tough circumstances. And I think Vern, he did this, he was faced with the same kind of situation. So I'm recommending,
Can we see their
3% for
evaluations?
both. What?
Can we see their evaluations?
How do you want to handle
The
that?
trustees can see it, they can't be publicly disclosed.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I mean, before voting on it, I'd like to see them, and then, especially, we just gave them a raise, prior to when they got that position. So, I definitely like to see them before, and I think that's, overall, we need to start seeing the performance appraisals, because I'm one of those people, you get what you work for. There's people here that are working harder than other people in this, city. We need to make sure that those people are getting the percentage versus the other. That's how my world works.
Is there public comment?
No.
We have, well, we have.
Both the unions got 3% raises, all the non-union employees got 3% raises. Those are all taken care of. The only two people that need board approval are my own and Vern's.
I was gonna pay a compliment, sorry, Pat. Can we see them first or not?
Jeff, how should we handle
Well,
it?
it's up to how the board wants to do it.
Are the evaluations here, or are they in your office?
No, right here.
Then,
There
is
an executive session. Yeah, you can stop
yeah,
for a minute.
there's an executive session, so at the executive session, let's take a look at them, and then come back and do business.
Okay,
I'm
so
fine with that.
we'll table this until the executive session's over.
Nina, does that sound?
Yeah. Why is it not an executive session if we can't speak? You guys are gonna vote on it without the ability of being able to speak, why?
The public comment period at the regular meeting is at the beginning of the meeting.
Okay, the demolition ordinance. Dave.
16-30, an ordinance authorizing demolition of village storage building located in 200 block of Village State.
Do we have a second?
The white building.
I'm gonna make that 30.
We'll make this 30.
We'll make this one 30, we'll wait on the other one.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay,
This is the
discussion.
old white building back here that we moved the water department out of, and all the trucks have since moved to the utility shed, so.
We have a person willing to take the thing down and move it at no cost.
Okay.
Nice.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, Pat, would you take the vote, please?
Trustee Clayton?
Yeah.
Kinsey?
Yes.
Valentin?
Yes.
Lindhorst?
Yes.
Scotterman?
And enthusiasm, yes.
Can I ask a point? I've been on this speakerphone before, it's hard enough to hear, to try to participate in the meeting remotely, so the mumbling, I think, throws Mark off, so if we can keep it down, I'd appreciate it.
Okay, prevailing wage ordinance, Dave.
This is ordinance 16-31, establishing the prevailing wages for the village of Chatham.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, discussion?
Annual update to the prevailing wage required by the state of Illinois.
Typically, it is an annual update, however, the state of Illinois is behind, and they have not updated their prevailing wage since 2015. So basically, what we're passing is the same ordinance that we passed 1 year ago. Except that this, now the governor's office is saying the new rates will be out next month. So this ordinance automatically updates when the new rates come out.
We do this again.
Now, that's, if it's to be believed that the new rates. So, if the new rates come out, but this has the rates in them, how does this automatically update those rates?
The ordinance, by its language, automatically updates as they.
That's right here, Joe. As required by the Act, any and all revisions of the prevailing rate of wage by the Department of Labor of the state of Illinois supersedes the Department's June determinations, and they apply to all. That's the correct spot.
Yeah, so
if they make a change.
They actually require you to have in the ordinance as the rates may be updated, you have to go by those updates.
Basically, as would any contractor working for the village.
Yeah.
They would also have to pay whatever the current prevailing wage
And
was, regardless of which month it was passed.
It really makes no sense, but.
If you have to follow, you have to follow it. Why you have to adopt an ordinance saying you're
Yeah.
gonna follow it makes no sense.
Especially when you're adopting an ordinance that doesn't have the correct rates in them.
Yeah.
Okay, Pat, would you take the vote, please?
Trustee Clayton?
Yes.
Kinsey?
Yes.
Fountain?
Yes.
Van Horst?
Yes.
Scottleman?
Yes.
Committee of the
Not
whole
enthusiastically.
whole ordinance, Dave?
All right. Ordinance 1632, amend section 3330 to clarify membership of the committee.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion?
The previous ordinance related to the committee of the whole named specific individuals. Since we've had a change in membership of the trustees, that needed to be amended. Jeff recommended more generic terms into that to just clarify that the committee consists of the trustees.
And that you'll select the chair. The other ordinance also specifically identified the chair and the vice chair. This would provide that you would decide amongst yourselves who will be in those roles.
Okay, Pat, would you take the vote, please?
I know what's coming.
Trustee Clayton?
Yes.
Kinsey?
Yes.
Fountain?
Yes.
Van Horst?
Yes.
And Scottleman?
Yes.
Okay, the final plat for Iron Bridge 2, Dave?
Ordinance 1633, approving the final plat of Iron Bridge Estates, second edition.
We have a second.
Second.
Discussion?
Pat?
It's the most complete subdivision that we've, I think, ever brought a final plat in. The bond is only $20,000. They finished up the paving today, they put in almost all the sidewalks.
205.
Huh?
205.
20,000. You're looking at an over one. It was updated today. They got the rest of the sidewalks and the paving done today, so they were able, they talked it over, talked to Jim. Jim went out and checked everything. It all passed, so their bond is $20,000.
The only items that remain are a couple of sections of sidewalk where they plan on starting home construction immediately. So there's about 6 lots that they left the sidewalk off for construction access. And then final seeding and grading, they left, it's like $10,000 on bond for final seeding and grading. So everything else has been certified, test reports provided, as well as record runs provided. So the only thing that remains is a couple of punch list items, some seeding, grading, and sidewalk on 6 lots.
Okay, further discussion? Pat, would you take the vote, please?
Trustee Clayton? Trustee Clayton? You lose him?
Sorry, I was on mute. Yes.
Kinsey?
Yes.
Fountain?
Yes.
Van Horst?
Yes.
And Scottleman?
Yes.
Okay, the ordinance regarding final inspection certificates, Dave?
16-34 relating amending the Village of Chatham Code of Ordinances relating to final inspection certificates. This adds the, is Brian still here? This adds the requirement that it is the builder's, developer's requirement to make sure the final inspection is done.
Let's have a second on that.
Second.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
Anybody who is a permit holder would be required to have a final inspection certificate before the homeowners were to occupy the home. I was running into there was kind of a glitch in the wording. Me and John wrote it originally. and it said anybody who occupies the home without a final inspection certificate would be in violation. Well, that was throwing the onus on the homeowners, and I didn't want to do that. I wanted to make sure that the contractor that had the actual permit was responsible for having a final inspection certificate. So that was really just kind of a wording change.
Now, Ryan, the language is still in there saying that actually a person can occupy the home for 60 days while it's finishing up. But what you're doing is you're stressing that while that's finishing up, and when that finishes, it is still the responsibility of the permittee, not the occupant itself.
Right, and sometimes we'll run into a situation where, let's say someone has ordered like a specific countertop or something for a bathroom. Okay, well, that's not necessarily a life safety issue. So if they want to move in, I can do that under a temporary certificate. And then once it gets in there, then it would be, the final certificate would be issued, and then everything would be fine. As long as they meet the provisions of having all the safety items like handrails and smoke detectors, car detectors, that kind of thing.
And there's a 60-day window.
Right. There still is that 60-day time frame for what I'm trying to think here, non-life safety issues, so.
Okay, any further questions, discussion? Terry?
Pat, if you would, will you add my name to the ordinance?
We did, we fixed that.
You did fix it, okay.
We took draft off and added your name.
Okay.
This was drafted a while
Take the
ago.
vote, please.
Trustee Clayton?
Yeah.
Kinsey?
Yes.
Fountain?
Yes.
Lindhorst?
Yes.
And Scotland?
Yes.
Okay, Dave, the
Resolution number, Pat.
30.
MFT.
30-16.
Resolution confirming approving execution of a supplemental resolution for the maintenance of streets and highways in the village of Chatham for use of motor fuel taxes.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Discuss, Pat, would you fill us in? The sheet had the magic numbers on there. We put in the program this year $490,111 and change. Some of the areas that we're looking to improve are Oak Brook Avenue, Road in Manor Hill, Marigold, no, that is Magnolia. And Marigold. And Walnut Street, from where we had done improvements last year down to the bridge near the cemetery. We'll do some sidewalk work, some pavement marking, some seal coating, some oil and chip work. Okay,
And then
questions?
Pat, this represents just, we know we're supposed to get the first installment of MFT funds. This is limited to that allocation?
What we've done is we looked at what we had carried over from last year, what we've got so far this year. We put in a little more than what we actually plan on spending. That way we can take a look and see what bids are. If you don't list the project, you can't go back and collect for it. So we put a little extra in there. We don't have to spend all that. Most likely we will not spend all that. But once we get the bids, then we can determine which areas we're going to do.
When are you planning to bid it out?
What do you think it'll go on state bid in next month?
Yes.
July?
And
Well, I assume this would be a local project, not a state bid.
Correct.
All right.
Okay, Pat, would you take the vote, please?
Trustee Clayton?
Yes.
Kinsey?
Yes.
Fountain?
Yes.
Lindhorst?
Yes.
And Scotland?
yes.
Okay, Dave, the changes to the land subdivision
Ordinance
ordinance.
1635. This is adopting the proposed changes to land subdivision ordinance.
Do we have a second? Need a second. Discussion.
I think it's very,
We've looked at that book, we probably haven't updated it, well, completely gone through and looked at it in quite a few years. A couple of years, maybe a year ago, we went through and we changed the pavement from line stabilization to back to rock. But we got Steve Schroll here from C&T. He went through the book, brought it to the planning commission. We had a public hearing. It was Terry's last meeting. He had a few comments. We added those, brought that back to the planning commission the next week, and it made it through the planning commission. And it's to the board to implement. We want to get it so that we can have some of these newer subdivisions start following some of these newer rules and stuff like that.
Steve, I certainly appreciate the two-page summary.
Yeah. It's over 100 pages.
Over the rest of the 100 pages, so.
So I think it's great, I really do, we really needed to take care of that stuff, looks great.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, Pat, would you take the vote, please?
Trustee Clayton?
Yes.
Kimsey? Yes. Valentin?
Yes.
Lindhorst?
Yes.
And Scott?
Yes.
Joe, Friends of the Park.
Yes, the next one is a resolution to grant Friends of the Park the use of community park for Light Up the Park. This would be the third year, right? That they would be doing this.
Okay, do we have a second?
Fourth year, sorry, fourth year. Fourth year that they would be doing this, and it's always been a real hit in Chatham, and they've come a long way, and they do a great job. So this is for between November 25th and December 25th.
I want to say no because of Roland's health. So, health over there. I think it kills him every year. But I will say yes because it's a great event.
Okay. Do we have a
Did we
second?
get a second on that?
Second.
Nina seconded. I can do this on a voice vote, right?
No, it's an actual resolution, so I better do it.
And then
Okay, Pat.
For the record, I'm supposed to abstain and not be counted as present during this because I'm the treasurer for this not-for-profit corporation. So
Okay, Pat, would you take the vote, please?
Trustee Clayton?
Yes.
Kimsey?
abstain.
Fountain?
Yes.
Lindhorst?
Yes.
And Scott?
Yes.
Okay. Pat, do you have any comments for us tonight?
Are you going to revisit ordinance number 3? Or are you tabling that for the?
No, I think we're gonna revisit.
Okay, quick question, and I'm okay with it if this is the case. So my understanding is they're no longer going to be paying the additional $192.31. We go into the salary increase with 3% of what the current rate is what the ordinance reads. So we're not gonna be paying the additional $192.31 that we were for the interim positions bi-weekly, is that correct?
No.
That's not correct, so we're still paying the additional,
The bump from what my GIS IT salary was to become the village administrator would stay. And then it's been 1 year since
so a year you've been at 386,000.
what was it, July of last year?
Okay,
when
so
they'll
then we're going to
do a 3%
get rid of the
increase.
3% increase from that and no longer have that 192.31, or is that's included in there?
That's included in there.
Okay, so that's already included in both, for the interim. So the only thing I would have a question is, sorry, Bill, is we have already included then with the 94,000 for Vern is that would bring him in, he had that interim for the interim position, correct?
Vern's salary as the
Prior
deputy chief,
to deputy
plus the
was-
interim, plus a 3% increase. Because the interim was given to us a year ago.
Correct.
Everyone else has got a raise since then, except for us.
I know, but my thought was, okay, so we're not gonna include, we're not separating that out. We're not taking it out.
It just becomes the salary
It's going to be the salary.
for the chief and for the interim village.
So we added that in to that, the 192.31.
Is it not clear there?
Yeah, no, I just was trying to figure out what you guys were, you know what I'm saying? And trying to do the math, because that 192.31, I thought that was in addition to your current salary, is what I thought Shane said, but maybe I read her email.
When I was the GIS IT, I made $95,385.94.
Okay,
You guys gave me a $5,000 a year raise for being the village administrator.
that put you-
me at $100,385.94.
correct.
With a 3% increase, that would be $3,011.58, up to total salary, $103,397.52. When Dell left, he was making $108,850. Verb's salary, when he was the deputy chief, was $89,497.98. He also got a $5,000 bump when he was made interim chief. That put him at $94,497.98. He, with the 3% proposed raise, that puts him at $97,332.92.
Okay, now that's over what our last person who left for the police chief is. Who left.
Yeah. But it's been 2 years since he had, the chief Holman had a raise too.
Oh, it was.
Yes.
Do we have enough information to go ahead?
Let me, I didn't look at these then, I was trying to figure out the numbers.
I'd like to look at
Yeah.
it too, so can we just do that
Yeah.
back there and then?
Okay, can I have a motion to go into executive
Well, do
session?
you want to,
Yeah, for personnel and for
we got-
possible litigation, with the expectation that we come back out for additional action.
I've got some, on here it says village manager, and I have some topics I need to ask you guys' opinion on this evening.
Do we want to do this first?
No,
Okay.
go ahead.
All right, first, I had a request for Paint the Square on August the 27th. They would like to close the 3 streets around the square and use it to paint washable paint on the streets.
who's that?
It's a group, Chatham Friends of the Park.
Okay.
So I'm asking you, would you allow them to reserve the square and close those 3 streets for August the 27th? Setup would be the 26th, roughly between the hours of 8 a.m. and 7 p.m.
And I assume this is open to the public.
Yes.
Yeah. I can speak about it, right? I
Yeah,
just can't
please.
vote on it.
Yes.
What the Friends of the Park are looking to do is do a community art project, paint the square where you square off sections of the street, provide the materials, and then allow families or businesses or whoever is interested to come in, take the day with some kind of entertainment going on in the square during the day, paint the square and have a chance to have a creative expression for the afternoon. It's similar to the,
Springfield Art
Springfield Art Association does one downtown, and having never been ashamed to steal somebody else's good idea, that's what we'd like to do here.
And I assume the paint will just eventually wear off
Yes.
through normal rain, so forth.
And I'm not.
You've done it before, right?
I'm not the artist, so the technical questions on the paint, but the one thing that I asked quickly is, should something be painted on the street, does it come off immediately with the power washer? And it was yes, so should somebody step outside the bounds of civility, that can be quickly addressed, but they said within a few rainfalls it goes away.
I guess there's a consensus that we would be in favor of it, but can we vote on it tonight?
I don't think, do we need to vote on it?
You don't need to vote on it.
You don't? No.
You're just announcing it, right?
Yeah.
So it's up to you to decide.
I just wanted to make sure you guys were okay with closing those streets on that day.
The church, so I assume contact has been made to the church and to the township community center.
Well, we want to get the square first. Initially, I don't believe that in the first year that we would end up using all 3 streets in 1 year. As far as actual people painting out there, it's probably something that takes a while to develop. Those were all taken into consideration at what point you want to close. And we reached out and talked to Vern to make sure that he didn't have any concerns with this.
Yeah.
Phil, since you're here, do you have any concerns?
No, the park's been closed, the street's been closed before we come in.
It's easy enough to move people out of the way if an emergency vehicle had to get down there, even if they had to run over the paint.
I just want to make sure that nothing was happening at the church or
The church is meeting at Paul's Reception Center for the next
Yeah,
several months.
They
Because you're
not back
modeling.
in there yet.
Yeah, correct. Or the community center.
Okay.
Next item is proposed use of South Park Pavilion. You know, we talked about if people were going to serve alcohol and reserve our parks. This group here, they're the folks that used to be Garrett Aviation.
Landmark.
Yeah, they want to use South Park, the area west of the football fields, for August the 5th, from noon to 11:30,
Oh,
to have essentially a company picnic. They won't be selling alcohol, but they will be serving alcohol, so they will have to acquire a liquor license.
And again, we don't have to formally vote on that.
This, I think you would, because you'd have to vote to give them the liquor license,
Oh.
but I wanted to find out
They have to
first.
apply first.
Yeah, I wanted to find out first whether you guys were even interested in allowing them to do it before I had them go through the process of paying and applying for the liquor license.
It's a Friday?
It is a Saturday. No, it is a Friday.
Yeah.
And we are charging them, correct?
Yes, we would.
Okay.
This is the pavilion area, the engine room?
It's that area and I think the stage.
Okay. And they know they'll have to fence the whole thing off?
Yep.
So the general consensus at this point is allow it.
people, it'd be,
Yeah, I don't object to it, I mean.
So, okay, so you'll have the ordinance ready
I'll have that.
next time?
Yeah.
Okay.
The last thing is, I'd like for Jeff to prepare an ordinance. We got contacted by the Sangamon County Department of Public Health. They want a contract again for animal control.
You're back.
Yeah, sorry about that.
The animal control for next year, $6,394.42. So we'll have the ordinance for you guys to accept that. And I think that's, I wanted to talk about filling the position for accounting clerk. I left information in for all of you last week to look at. Our proposal is to go with someone with at least 4 years of degree education in accounting and in probably a couple of years in municipal government. So we're going to put out an ad for that. We'll post it internally and then we'll post it externally, looking for candidates. That information I gave you had salary ranges, and we'll base that off of experience and candidates and stuff. But just wanted to give you a heads up that we're going to move forward.
that's for
filling
a position that was open already.
It's not a new position.
It's not a new position.
Okay, thank you, Pat. Dave? Dave. Oh, Joe made the motion.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session. Personnel and for possible litigation, with the expectation to come back out for further action.
Terry seconded. Pat, would you take the vote, please?
Trustee Clayton?
Here.
Kinsey? Yes. Broughton?
Yes.
Lindhorst?
Yes.
Stoneyman?
Yes. Hey,
Yeah.
Oh, didn't I say that when I said I've included the attachments of Mr. Michael's drawing and blah, blah, blah.
Somebody got paid.
Like we just went in one ear out the
That's why I want to make sure. It's just that, I try to express that there be safety issues and that's what.
Again, to be blunt, the ordinance is not responsibility of the village shed, well, the thing is, I tried everything, and that's gonna happen. Out of here the other day, it had to be. I'm in a no-win situation.
Everyone's camera's still on.
Yes. Quote the ordinance and they can say, Village of Chatham, so it doesn't, you're still saying the same thing, you know?
That's how it started.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really upset because he is now taking away from that's almost saying like, I don't understand. What if I just went out there and said, if this lady called in, you got weeds that are installed, you got water in here, here's your fine, see you in court in 40 days or whatever it is. I didn't do that, I didn't do that.
So I know.
Watching a YouTube video the other night of vintage Trans Am race, so we had like 68, 69 Camaros and Mustangs and Barracudas and Javelins.
That is,
Guy has a really nice yellow 16 Camaro smoking down the track.
and confirmed
He
that.
passes a car on the right, and there's another car up ahead of him. And I don't know if he,
Because if that
I
means
don't know if
that
the brakes failed
intersection
because it was inboard cameras, so you couldn't see the car was doing.
If that.
The guy on his left had turned in the turn and just went wham right into him. So I think what happened was either
There's no
he
gear.
lost it and just slid into the guy, or this guy did something really stupid. I mean, just popped. There he goes, he spins off and brings it back out and
Children on my street right now. You know, for example, I want to stop like, you know, okay, I'm going to stop. Oh, there's a stop sign on the road. I said, I know you know, because I know that's not necessarily the best thing to do. And he explained to me why. And it goes back to exact, you know, I'm in the exact reverse situation. I'd love to have him there to regulate the traffic flow, but he makes sense when he's telling me about why they don't want it back up. Okay, I go look at it. You know, it's sort of, well, and it's sort of.
Seriously,
it's sort
I
of-
think we need to look at.
Hey, she wants to talk to me.
This was your.
I don't, I have promised my husband that I would spend time with him today.
Why do that? That's overrated.
Yes, it's his birthday.
You know,
So-
if he came here, he'd be with you.
Oh, he's been here enough, he's seen it.
I do have a question for you. Yes. Okay, so Martin came back with some turning movements based on vehicle lengths and wheelbases and everything else that he provided us on the fire code. Do you have any idea what your turning radiuses are on those vehicles? take a vehicle, middle of the parking lot, straight ahead, center of the bumper, turn it all the way to the right, and make a turn, what would that radius be when it came back at 180 degrees?
A small football field.
They cheated the numbers.
Okay.
Okay, so like IDOT for a single unit truck, you know, a moving van, that kind of stuff, has a 42-foot radius. Martin Engineering used 35 for all of your vehicles, and just as a default. I don't think there's any way, otherwise Tahoe won't do 35, you know?
Yeah.
So, if there's a way that is.
Go out to the high school.
Yeah, if you go
Well,
out to the high school.
I mean, we could either that or I could contact E1 and talk to them and see if that their engineering specs, they have turning radius.
Yes. Yeah, so what I need is, you know, if you go center line to bumper, if you did a, you know, blocked it all the way to one side, and made a perfect 180 degree turn, what would that radius be? And if there's, you know, I would just say take the worst vehicle that you have, whatever one you think is the worst.
Yeah, that'd be the ladder.
If you want the ladder through there, then, you know, we'll evaluate it based on that, because they came back with their original schematic and used a really short turn radius. And said, look, it all works. Because they sent me the back, the turning radiuses, and the turning paths, you know, where it shows the impact of the body, or where it tracks, and, you know, the lines would be. And I said, well, did you update the design from what you originally had? And they're like, no, that's the original design. No way that truck gets through there. So, but like I
So
said.
I need an actual turning radius on that truck.
Yes. And, you know, if you can't get the spec from the manufacturer, you know, I'd be more than happy to meet you out at the high school or something like that, and we'll just grab a tape and, okay, hang a line here, turn it, wheel locked all the way one side, turn it around, and measure it.
Okay, so wheels need to be locked in the turning position before you start the line?
I mean, I would simulate what you guys would operate on. You know, if you're moving, you know, you're not necessarily going to be locked, you know, when the truck's equipped, it doesn't turn the wheels first.
So you want distance, you want distance from center of bumper to center of bumper?
Yes.
Okay, with a horizontal line, no problem.
So we're looking at your truck like this. That's the dimension that we want, right there.
Over the center?
Yeah. It's gonna be the radius. You're gonna swing a diameter, but it's gonna be the radius, so, you know, because when we look at it, I mean, your truck may go this way, it may go this way, it may come back this way, it may come back this way. So we're interested in what that turning radius is, basically to make a circle.
No problem. I did that for you. That'd be a good project, one of my accounts to get involved.
So, yeah, I'll just take your most restricted truck.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. That's the length of your truck might be not the most restricted. That thing drives like a Cadillac. That thing actually drives really nice. I'll probably have to take one of my engines to try to get the largest turn radius. I will probably just test all three and just take it, just.
And then you'll have the data.
It just lets you know the biggest one.
Okay. We'll give you two, yeah, give you all of them, we'll put them in there, and then that way we'll have it moving down the line.
Of course, if you take that 40 up 250, it might have the worst turn.
That's, yes.
Sit up your course and run them all through there and see which one does it. Go work.
I have mine's a tank, you know, I drove that F-250 the other day, I was like, wow, this thing just does not turn.
So, yeah, no, it's the same way, my buddy used to have a old Ford Escape, and that thing would turn like a go-kart. I mean, you'd actually go past the turning spot, it's like, oh, there's a spot. Right in, it's like, oh, it's not pretty good, Tahoe, not so much. Yes, that's, yeah.
You would know.
I do know. It didn't take much. So, but,
Of course, that giant vehicle, you gotta sit in your driveway.
That thing has a really tight turning radius, about 2 football fields. Oh, yeah, Ford F-250, it's not turned. That's why I bought the Jeep, because I can't go park it anywhere. You can't run it in town and go somewhere. You still have the rear fenders on it, or did that goes off yet? No, they're still there. That's good. See,
Do
a
you
lot
have
of
that
this,
for, do you have that for fun, or do you have that to haul something?
I have a camper that's Ford. I put about 1,000 miles a year.
On the truck?
Well, we doubled that this year because we took it, moved my son to Florida, so we drove it, so we put 2,000 just doing that, in fact, but typically about 1,000 miles a year.
That's the kind of vehicle that you want to buy.
Yeah, exactly. Because in '09, it's got 50,000 miles on it. I bought it used, and I put literally maybe 4,000 miles on it. And that was a trip to Florida and back. It was a little over 2,000 miles.
Damn. That's not bad at all.
And it rides really nice. It's got heated seats. I mean, great truck.
Yeah, usable.
You just can't park the sump gun in.
That's true.
You can't run into Springfield to the gas station or.
Can't run in a mire and park in between,
You gotta park clear all the way out and walk in a quarter mile. That's closer to walk from my house.
I know. Your wife probably isn't driving?
She will not drive it.
My wife won't even drive, I only got definitely 50, my wife refuses to drive it most of the time.
She refuses to drive it.
She's got one of those little sports cars, you know, that's what she wants.
No, my wife.
She wouldn't even buy the upgraded model, the larger sedan, she wants a small compact.
Well, she had the long bed on it anyway, so it's got an 8-foot bed on it to boot, and then you put the camper that's 35 feet on it. Really great to back up. In fact, it's like a dream.
Yeah, true. Long wheelbase.
Really long wheelbase, long trailer. I mean, you can put that thing anywhere you want to. You just can't turn a circle. As a matter of fact, it almost drives better backwards, putting that trailer in a spot.
So no city driving is what you're saying? Especially with the camper?
No, I don't drive anywhere. I mean, matter of fact, the camper's parked now, so we don't even haul it. I just get rid of the truck. As soon as I sell the truck, then I have to move the camper.
Jim, this is what I was talking about. I didn't know if there was a construction drawing that showed any of that, because you know who they're gonna be calling when something gets plugged up.
I don't think they have. I think
close that off.
Because I know here it doesn't matter, because you got this.
pre-call.
Yeah.
Everything back here, that sheet flows off, and then you've got landscaping, berm there, and I don't know if Spartan Valley has that, or if, that was put in under Iron Bridge. And there's like a row of pine trees and everything else on there, they have the hedgerow and everything else, so you're not gonna have ponding water back there.
Okay, good. I know on this side, there were no concrete soils, but you had a big pond over here.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, they did some, they had some decent grades with, some of the lots over there.
did you see this lot?
I like it. That's the first thing that came out. I asked Steve Walker, what's this? And he's like, well, this is remnant that we had in there. And I'm like, what is it belong to? He's like, it's part of 22. I'm like, well, 22 over there. And, it was actually on the 20, my son had to pick him up from our camp. And it was 13. And I said, okay, I need you to review this plan back to the oil leaks. I said, here's what I want you to do. I gave him the boats to put his plaque. I gave him a set of the construction drawings. Thanks for your, I said, okay, you see where all these pipes are? I said, make sure that wherever there's a pipe, it falls within one of these dotted lines here, okay? So we'll take a look at it, and if any pipes fall off the dotted line, make sure we're right here. Or the storm sewer cut across this lot, this season wasn't there, and it cut across this lot, so the storm sewer said, so are in private property.
Right.
I'm like, okay, that's one, and then he hit another one. So I was dealing with this one here, that easement flares out where it got outside, and, it's like, okay, so, and he's giving me shit about that, he's like, hey, those guys fix that stuff for vermin. Yeah,
So these roads are good, though, right?
yeah, everything's good.
Sweet.
Everything's good.
Everybody else's. Officers make sergeants make 8%. Right now, it's 8, 10, and 12, depending on what year.
So,
Right. Chief makes 5, 10, whatever they want.
They must
Out of
have
that, and chief makes
hold that up,
Whatever
this
percent on
can drive,
contract,
and
you
they
give,
impacted it.
give the officer
8 times.
See, they did something like
Now, I mean,
that.
given your ragged roads, you got some wet areas in there, and then they still had areas where the watershed clear, this can impact. So,
At the union negotiate, they come back and get your approval before they
end up doing that, and it's
get their negotiation.
worked out.
We should.
Well, see, they negotiate.
Maybe before they start building, take a Mustang back there and give it a couple of reps. Oh, I'd have to put that hours on there about 2 seconds.
We're so asshole about
So
that.
the union says there's a
Don't you get a fire, ours come in fall.
So then 1 year later,
I don't know,
assistant chief,
man.
division chief, and myself, ours comes up.
I was in the car, I had a low tire and I figured out what's going on. I figured it must have like a
And then.
pinhole in it somewhere, so I wanted to get it out there and drive it, to see if it went down faster if I drive it.
Wage.
I can't come off the Mansion Road, and I
And then
turned the traffic,
so
so I'm coming
negotiate
southbound
salary,
around
the contract, they need
And
the division chief.
kind of wanted to get over the left lane, you know how it ends when you go through the stuff.
Then the assistant chief gets $6,000 more than whatever this, the new cap, the new division chief salary became. And then my salary is $7,000.
And I was like, nah, I better not, I want to get from, and I
It's
did,
all
and I
triggered
said,
off
oh,
of the
that's
team
fine.
salary or capping.
I was there.
So if they don't, so here's the thing, they negotiate their contract. They've done this.
Were you in the car?
Yes.
Like, well, the majority of us are firefighters, and we have 3 seasons. We're really are raising the starting salaries, and since we don't have any captains, you really don't want to raise those. So we want to put, we want a 3% raise, but we want to raise over here in this area, in these 2 counties. Well,
40, it's 40.
Is they don't raise the captain's wage, since all these triggers up on the captain's wage, well, we don't get paid.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing.
You got it.
And I'm like, she wasn't there, but the people who are supervisors understand it as well. And when they negotiate,
I would've gotten.
they can directly affect, they can give me a 0% pay increase or 3 straight years. Yes.
Really fast.
Because-
I got 302 roller.
We did the gentleman's agreement before it came in.
Yep.
You know, so if
We
it's
had
gonna
to
get somebody's
negotiate
attention, it's
with-
gonna be a cop sitting right there in the weeds.
Yeah,
Village
no, I'm
administrator.
acting for them as well, so it's,
Personnel. Well, what's the village administrator and the chief's
my biggest fault
responsibility?
is,
Keep the budget as low as
I
possible.
refuse to do seatbelts.
Well, that's who you're negotiating with.
Yeah, I'm in negotiations
I keep
with
the family, my dad.
with this, with the collective
Everybody
bargaining.
call me seatbelts out.
But when it comes to salary, you know, the board has. to
That
decide
just
the salary.
surprises me
I'm
when you
usually
just-
in there for personnel things, and for
whatever reason,
I
they're
try
like,
to
Do you wear?
language about how, you know, because they might want something, or I might want something.
So
It's
you're
one
shitting
and
his
then
dings
talk
all day
about
long?
the-
No, it wasn't
Yeah,
gonna
how
affect
can-
everything.
Yeah, how can we effectively give this to them if they're asking?
Oh, yeah,
And how
it's
they
on
make
the- we gotta
it
work
in
the
real
quarter.
life?
If you don't get that son of a gun, you go ahead and
Yes.
drive.
And actually,
next new vehicle, like-
policies for.
That's why I'm driving that
actually
next
have
Matt
that.
GMC pickup truck, that's what works.
That's mainly.
I got at least another 10 years out of that.
But you're gonna, you could possibly save your life with that seatbelt on.
No, or it's.
Are you guys, did you guys unionize? When did you do that?
I do. First of all, it's, no, it's funny though, it's.
So you have to.
What kind of seats you got to wear, those gotta be comfortable seats, right? Or they're tight, like the heat kit.
Yeah, they're tight.
So that's what I was doing, a good racing seat.
That's that one.
Yeah, it's got the.
Yeah. You ever ridden the '67 Mustangs?
They got it now, so.
No, it's just a bucket, but it's all vinyl. So you're turning, you're like.
Between each and every step.
You know, it's.
So for firefighter, entry level, all the way to 10 year,
Right.
lieutenant, 10 years, and then captain in 10 years. So now, when they go back 2 years from now, all they have to do is negotiate the start.
Got a picture of it?
Because they agreed upon and said, we want to agree, all these
People want to see it.
differences, you know, the bumps. We don't want, you know, I think it's like 1.5 for the first 5 years, and then it's 2% between there. So if they negotiate a $5,000 pay increase in the starting salary.
That's
it
still
instantly-
recording. We're on here too, so we gotta be careful.
It instantly increases
Okay.
everything. Which is
Cameras
fantastic
on.
for them.
I got everyone else's car at the
You
car
know, it's
show.
I see
fantastic
that.
for them.
Not mine, though. I do
That's
not.
it.
Have a car show.
But no, it's pretty good. It's, you know, It's a different way of doing things. I mean, because it all triggers off of, you can be found in the union too.
No, I don't. I'll sign it.
Okay.
Because you're not negotiating over the past, so like I said, they negotiate certain pockets of the contract, and then what effective. Now this way you negotiate one salary. And the salary is up $2,000, the percentage.
But you're sticking around until Terry gets there.
Yeah.
Benefits. Contract.
Yeah, we did that.
So I think it'll go for
We did that the first year, I think, when they first got under contract.
Where was I out in the big room?
However many years ago, what was
The camera still on, is that what you're talking about?
back then?
Yeah. Well, they will be. No,
2004 or something like that. That's what they did too. We just, what we have, we don't keep. We don't, we wanted to do that because they didn't want to walk in one day and not have the benefit packages and the insurance and that they accumulated. But that kind of makes sense. And ours are kind of, in my contract, I've got driving points that if the union negotiates an extra holiday, then I automatically have to get that holiday. If there's no negotiation, it's automatically, my holidays have to be in the union as well.
this is all.
Didn't know that.
Yeah. My wife called you. You was still on message yet.
Part of my contract.
Yeah. You did good, Phil.
I don't know if, I don't know how to explain, I mean, the people in Fox Creek, even though they have a valid point, I mean, their points are well taken and they're, I just don't know what there could be to make everybody happy in that scenario, I just don't know if it's, because I was telling Nina afterwards, before she went into executive session, when we've seen some developers, what happens if the developer doesn't finish development all the way to Carol's point? How about if they just decide they don't want to invest anymore of the development? There's nothing in there, in the development of that property says they have to.
Well, he doesn't own south of where he's developing. So he's gonna develop his property as far as.
To the bottom of the, to the parallel with the apartments? Is that how far it goes down?
No, his apartments are up to the north.
I thought the apartments are on the west and how that road came in.
There's a road on the east that goes all the way to the south edge of their property.
Okay, and it's a stub.
And it's gonna stub and it'll go and connect on down to Carroll's Point.
So you're gonna do what he's doing there with you intentional, what you did way back when with Gardner.
Exactly.
To try to connect the dots.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's only proposed that Carroll's Point will connect.
Right.
Unless somebody develops, is that the Dawson
Right now,
property?
currently own that, so if they decide not to sell any of that ever, and it stays farmland, Savannah won't go through, Carroll's Point won't go through, Plummer Boulevard.
I'll see, that's even more critical, but of course, I don't know, is that Mansion Road, is that a county road?
It is our road until to the end of the village limits. So it would be our road to the west edge of Cardinal Ridge.
Could you put two entrances off of Mansion Road?
Its own, the width of that subdivision is.
Doesn't allow for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's, now,
It's just a problem.
that's like, in North Point, we needed a place for Savannah to come out. So that's why there's a section of Savannah on the North Point that comes down the dead ends into Corrigan. And piece of property to the south of the hill, and the piece of property to the north of Fox Creek where Savannah comes in. When that finally develops, we will insist that Savannah connects together. Kind of like right now, when you're on Breckenridge, and then you go across Walnut Street, Breckenridge goes up, it's got the boulevard there. And then it will split off and go over and tie into Peachtree. Is it Peachtree? Yeah, Peachtree.
Speaking of future development, the property there, Grove Street, coming out of Oak Brook, is there any idea of when that's going to connect? Is that going to be a development for next season?
He wanted to start on it now, but he's got so many things that need to be fixed in the last two plats that we told him that we're not allowing him to move forward until he starts fixing some of the stuff that's been done in the two plats. He's not too happy with this.
Or like infrastructure type of things?
Well, if you come in on Grove and you go a half a block in, that whole intersection between Grove and Grove Road, looks like a behind that platform. All the concrete's all rusted up and everything. So all that has to be cut out and record. And we cord, it's supposed to be 6 inches thick, and it's only 4 inches. So, and then they put it in there, it's too hot. So at the top got crusty, busted off, and the rest got busted. And then plus he brought on all his concrete trucks and everything else, it's all through there, and just busted the thing in pieces. So.
Yeah, we just done it right the first time.
Yeah, and that's what CMT has been doing now. Out at Iron Bridge, we had a great contractor, great developer, and they had a good engineer, Mark Engineering, put good plans together and stuff. But CMT went out there, and after they got all the dirt work done for the road, they brought out a loaded tandem truck and drove it over. And if anywhere they got more than half-inch deflections of dirt, they had to dig it out, repack it, run rollers over it, so that they only get as much as a half-inch deflection of dirt. So then, on top of that, we put 6 inches of rock, and then 4 inches of bituminous, and then a 2-inch wearing surface over the top of it. So if we have the sub base that good, that road ain't going nowhere. And that's the problems that we've done in the past, is we never had the sub base.
Like in Oak Brook? Is that what causes Oak Brook's problem?
Yeah.
Not the subdivision, just the main road.
But what happens is you go in there and you go to fix some of the top part, then you start to dig down, and you find out that the sub base is just all mush. There's nothing there. What we're proposing to do is go in, cut out those areas, and then we'll pour concrete back in up to about 2 inches away from the surface. And then when they come in, they overlay over the top. The bad areas will be fixed by a concrete base. You know, you don't have to put a whole lot into it, you just throw the concrete in there, straight off the top. But it's not going to move around or go anywhere. So, and then plus our crews can do that concrete work instead of having to hire an outside company. So they'll come in, scarify the top, we'll dig out the bad part, put in the concrete, move on to the next part, and we'll just keep more concrete in there. And then the guys that will spend the money on will be the ones that come in and do the paving over the top of it. And then you'll have a good base there. And then you won't have to go back and fix it year after year after year. Because if you put rock in there, then it just is a place for water to go and collect it. Man, I sure hope they're okay with my rates if it's just burns that they're arguing about.
I wasn't sure.
Where you been, Sherry?
She's smart, she's hard.
The problem with the warrants. Got some questions on
it said on the bill.
It's probably, she was in last week and picked up the customer deposit applications.
She marked up some of that stuff she didn't like.
Well, the attorney did one.
I told her that. Oh, her fault anyway.
motion to go back into regular session.
Just a minute, Tom.
Pat, would you take the vote, please?
Who made the motion?
Terry seconded.
Yes.
Trustee Clayton?
Yeah.
Kimsey?
Yes. Yes.
Falcon?
Yes.
Linhorst?
Yes.
Scarman?
Yes.
Okay, so the ordinance establishing salaries is on the table for, back on the table.
That'd be 1635.
So I think it's the consensus of the board that we go ahead and vote on this ordinance as is, with the proviso that in the future, that the village strive to institute a more merit-based evaluation system with a range to award salary, and maybe that would mean cost of living and merit, or 100% merit.
Based on performance, yeah.
Based on performance, so.
Somebody, if they're doing well, could be
Yeah.
getting 5% versus 1%, based on what they're actually doing. If
So-
somebody's working harder than.
So, Vern and Pat, with that in mind for next year, that would be one of your objectives to look at how to structure such a system and report back to us on how you're going to do that.
And so what we'd like to see is in the evaluations and under goals, that would be added to both your goal and to Vern's goal as well.
And it's basically a point system you're gonna look at, and then it'll average out based on that percentage. I'm sure you've got tons that you can use for it, but it works out well.
Okay, any further discussion on the ordinance as is? Pat, would you take the vote,
You
please?
gotta have a motion in a second.
Oh, we
Dan
had it
made
before.
the motion, Terry had seconded it.
Oh, okay.
So we're back to there, okay?
Okay.
If that works, okay.
They're still. all right.
Trustee Clayton?
Yeah.
Kimsey?
Yes.
Felton?
Yes.
Linhorst?
Yes.
And Scarman?
Yes.
Okay, the committee of the whole meet on July 12th, and the next regular board meeting will be July 26th.
It'd be a special, because.
Oh.
special meeting.
And a special board meeting.
So be sure and get that posted.
I'm gonna get Colorado.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Meeting stands adjourned.
That's enough for now.
See ya.
See you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.